friends. I'm Karen, and this is the Family Food for Moms podcast. We're talking about inspiration for family cooking and dining. Today, we're going to be talking about how to get your kids to eat more vegetables and enjoy them. Vegetables can be delicious, and I think as adults we know when they aren't. We know when they're dry or chewy or not good, like bitter. So the goal is to make vegetables that we enjoy and to help our kids to enjoy them too. We don't have to hide them away. Sometimes that works, but it's also good to know that they taste good and that we can enjoy them. It's also different for different ages. You may need a different strategy for your young kids than for your teenagers, but it's a good thing to start as early as possible with making vegetables a normal part of life that your kids like just as much as any other food. So let's start with some ways that you can incorporate them, whether or not they're used to them. It's always a good thing to do. And remember, if you enjoy it, they're more likely to as well. There is something to be said, though, for developing a good palate. And the more they practice, the more they will enjoy them. So like French lunch meals for young children that we've talked about, where they try all kinds of unusual things from a young age. This is very helpful in developing a good palate so that they're used to eating the good stuff. So one of the things that I like to do is add some vegetables into sauces and bolognese or other pasta sauces. So if we're doing a bolognese, it's great to use some grated carrot and zucchini or marrow and add it to the mince. Somehow it adds such a good flavor. It bulks it up. It stretches it. It's a good texture. It's a win all round. So that's really great to add those. You can even use other vegetables such as parsnips or patty pans, anything really that can be grated into the mince. Beetroot, those will taste good. And then you do it near the beginning of cooking the bolognese so that they have time to soften and really incorporate into the meal. You can also add lentils into your bolognese. I like to use tinned cooked lentils that are already salted and already softened, and then it's very easy. Then soups are a great way to eat vegetables. Often your kids will be happy with a soup when perhaps they wouldn't have liked the individual vegetable. So something like a cauliflower and cheese soup. All you need is some bone broth, some cauliflower, and some cream for when you blend it, and perhaps some cheddar cheese to blend into it. This makes a delicious soup, which is a good starter or appetizer. Broccoli works just as well, a broccoli and cheese soup or broccoli cream soup. Again, you just cook the broccoli in a little bone broth and water, and then you blend it with a bit of cream and maybe some cheese, and it makes a lovely, smooth, delicious soup. An obvious one is also butternut squash and sweet potato soup. Very delicious. Sometimes this is more appetizing than just steamed butternut. So you just cook some chopped butternut squash, some chopped sweet potato in a pot with a bit of bone broth and water, a little salt, and then you blend it again with either some cream or some coconut cream to make it smooth and yummy. You can do a similar thing with a puree. So a puree is great to have on your plate next to your meat. It can be fancy, like on MasterChef, where you do a smear with a spoon. So it's very similar to a soup, but just not as thin, so you wouldn't add as much water. And usually you would do a smaller quantity. So you cook up some vegetables like butternut squash or sweet potato or cauliflower in a little bone broth and water with salt. And then you blend it. You can add a little cream if you want to. And that's your veggie on the side. And it's very decorative and fancy, and it's fun. Very easy way to get your kids to eat vegetables. Also, if you have small children, they love making the smear, and it makes them even more excited to eat it. And it adds color to your plate. If you have a broccoli puree, then that's a lovely green color. The butternut squash is lovely and orange. So that is great when you want to do a little fancy meal with some elegant plating. Steamed vegetables are also delicious. We have a vegetable steamer, which you add water to, and you don't have to worry about it burning because it will turn off when the water runs out. But usually the water lasts for the good hour that it needs to steam. You can do steaming with a metal tray in a pot, but just be careful the water doesn't run out and burn. But steamed vegetables always taste very good because all the nutrients are still there, they're not lost in the water. And then when you're done steaming something like long stemmed broccoli or green beans, then adding salt and butter, maybe a little bit of garlic on top, always adds flavor. If you're adding salt and butter, just mix it up with the vegetables gently or lay it on top if it's broccoli that's tender and you want it to look elegant. If you're going to add garlic, it's often good to do a quick stir fry to cook the garlic. So, adding green beans to the pan with a little coconut oil and garlic, and then, or butter and garlic, and then doing a little stir fry until it's just right. So, that really enhances the vegetables in a way that adds interest. It tastes delicious, and your kids are far more likely to enjoy them than just the plain vegetables. Then a salad with dressing or roast vegetables with an oil and salt dressing always add a lot of interest. Adding lemon juice, anything that you add on top is going to make them more appetizing. So, doing a salad and then putting roast vegetables on top with some nice olive oil and salt or some homemade olive oil balsamic dressing, those really make them amazing. So you could do some red peppers, some small butternut squash, small slices, or should I say thin slices, so they cook quickly, some zucchini, some carrot, just slices of all those with olive oil and salt, baked in the oven for a short while, and then put on top of the salad. Tastes really good. You can also do fancy things with vegetables. We have an appetizer cookbook coming out, which I'm very excited about. And in there, all the recipes have 5 ingredients, exactly 5. So they're really simple things you can do as appetizers in your family to make your meal interesting without it adding a huge amount of work or time or money. One of the things in there is a zucchini, red pepper, and halloumi appetizer. And basically, you steam the zucchini and the red pepper slices, and then you add a little pesto to the zucchini, you add a little oil and salt to the peppers, and you pile them on the plate with a little bit of halloumi cheese. And this makes an amazing vegetable starter because of the cheese. It's somehow not just vegetables, and it tastes amazing. So that's a good one to try. So there are a lot of things in that recipe book which are basically vegetables that you can start your meal with, and then you don't have to worry as much with your main course. You can even just have chicken pieces or lamb chops because you've already had your vegetable starter. Or you could add a puree on the side of that if you'd like to. So that brings me to my next point. It's really helpful to have a first course, a separate course, which is just vegetables or vegetables with cheese, like I mentioned. So instead of having a main course where they're going to eat their meat and the vegetables are there on the side, give them the vegetables first. Because then, when they're hungry, that's what there is, and they'll eat it. And then they can enjoy their meat or whatever else they're having in the next course. This is quite common in Europe. Instead of eating everything all at once, they do have their food in courses and they separate it. First this and then that, first the soup, then a little bit of pasta, or then a little bit of a certain kind of vegetable or salad, then the meat, perhaps with more vegetable sides. So the courses really help you to dictate the order that you want your kids to eat their food without them realizing. So having a vegetable starter makes them eat what they see when they're hungry, hopefully, at the beginning of the meal. If you have really fussy kids, try to just make the eating of vegetables a very natural part of the meal and not make it into a big thing. Just have that part of the meal out on the table for them to dish up from, or have the individual plates set out. That's what there is. And then we have the next thing without it being a big deal. Oh, you must eat your vegetables. And hopefully it just becomes natural for them. Then crudités with a dip are a great appetizer and a great way to get your vegetables in. So these would be raw vegetables, so carrot, celery, baby tomatoes, cucumber, anything that you can dip. Now, the key here is that you have it with a dip, and that makes it more interesting. So if your kids like hummus, or if they like a tzatziki dip, or perhaps olive oil and balsamic, anything that they will enjoy that they can dip their crudité into. Then I think it's very important that vegetables are cooked the right amount. Often, if they're not tasty, it's because they're overcooked and mushy or bitter, or they're undercooked and too hard. I don't really enjoy sheet pan or oven vegetables like Brussels sprouts because they don't seem to be soft inside and then they're crispy and often burnt on the outside. Maybe I just don't have the skill there. I do like to do something like butternut in the oven. So, done in the steamer tastes great, it's fine. But even nicer is in the oven. And somehow, if you add olive oil and salt to your butternut and then bake it, it makes it really lovely and sweet, but not too sweet. The same with potatoes. They're amazing if you cook them in the oven with some olive oil and salt on them. Somehow they taste better than just plain steamed or other potatoes. So try to master one vegetable at a time and find the method that works best for you and when you know it's just right, not undercooked or overcooked. So that may be an amount of time in a steamer. For me, we do Brussels sprouts or broccoli in a steamer for 45 minutes. Butternut or sweet potato would be 1 hour. I do prefer butternut in the oven. As I said, that's the best. And then I love the soups and purees. Those are a little bit more forgiving and easier to get right if it's in a soup or a puree. And you can really bring out the flavor. Also, children have different tastes. Some children love pickles or sauerkraut, and those vegetables are so good for the gut. So if they enjoy those, then that's a win. So introducing fermented vegetables when they have salads or to have on sandwiches is also a great way to incorporate some vegetables. A few final tips. Make it fun. So when you're putting together a vegetable dish, arrange them into a fun shape or a face or make a colorful veggie platter and involve your kids in this process. Let them enjoy chopping the veggies, arranging them on the plates so that they're more interested in eating them. And often they'll even snack a few while you're preparing the meal. If you have a vegetable garden, your kids will love to help pick baby tomatoes or beans or herbs for you to help in your cooking, and then they're also more likely to snack on those things. And then if you eat your vegetables in a way that you show you love them and you make them interesting, they're very likely to follow. You can incorporate vegetables into foods they already like, into mac and cheese or muffins, or into a veggie sauce. So if you're doing a tomato sauce for a pasta, you can put lots of veggies in there and that'll be delicious. Jamie Oliver has a recipe on YouTube where he adds 7 vegetables to a tomato pasta sauce. So you can search on YouTube 7 veg pasta sauce. Jamie Oliver 7 veg pasta sauce. And then lastly, don't give up. Don't feel like just because it was hard this time that it's going to stay hard. If you just continue to make yummy vegetables a normal part of dinner and meals, your kids will get on board. So thanks for listening today. I hope you have a lovely week and get to enjoy lots of vegetables together.